Welcome back to Ben's Top 11. And when I was a kid, Halloween wasn't forgotten a day after it occurred. Guess what, folks? I've been revisiting my childhood again. Well, that's not that shocking because I do that every day, but it's led to me rediscovering some cartoons that I remember watching as a kid, but I forgot I watched them until I discovered them again. In fact, I even found a new cartoon that I'm surprised isn't getting more attention. You know what that means? It's time for me to count down more cartoons that I think you people should force yourselves into watching. Anyway, get ready for another blast from the past. Here is my top 11 underrated cartoons, part 2. Number 11, The New Woody Woodpecker Show. Remember waking up early on Saturday mornings? Well, I do because I did so last Saturday to get on the internet. Okay, let me be more specific. Do you remember waking up on Saturday mornings to watch cartoons? I do. I remember eating some Burger King Cine Minis while I did so. And this was one of the cartoons I watched on Saturday mornings in the late 90s. This cartoon was a reboot of the classic Woody Woodpecker cartoons. Put down your C4 explosives, folks. This is a good reboot of a classic cartoon. In each 20-minute episode, there were 2 Woody Woodpecker cartoons and one Chilly Willy cartoon sandwiched in between. Basically, this cartoon had everything that made the classic so great. Woody's insanity, character breakdowns, and of course, violence. Lots and lots of violence. I can't even believe they got away with some of the violence they showed on this show. Choke on that, FCC! What also made this cartoon good were the voice actors that brought these characters back to life. Billy West is amazing as Woody. I can't believe he's not Ben Hardaway himself. Plus, Mark Hamill as Buzz Buzzard. You know that's going to be a fun performance. So, the new Woody Woodpecker show is not as good as the classic Woody Woodpecker cartoons, but it's not trying to be. And that's why it works. Number 10. Beetlejuice the Animated Series. Ever wondered what you would get if Tim Burton made an animated series? You didn't? Well, it happened anyway. This cartoon is based off the movie of the same name, as it follows the dark adventures of the hyperactive poltergeist Beetlejuice and his young human friend Lydia. Most cartoons based off movies fail miserably. DreamWorks! But this is an example of one that doesn't fail miserably. With a movie like Beetlejuice, you know it can work well as an animated show because it's basically a live-action cartoon. The animation is colorful, the episode plots are dark, but still have comedic elements to balance it out, and the cartoon adds new characters to the show to keep it fresh. And there is the intro. Holy crap, this intro is a roller coaster ride of what the heck. Not to mention, that Danny Elfman music will never get out of your head. So, Beetlejuice the Animated Series is one unique cartoon that'll give Beetlejuice fans, like myself, more of what we love about the movie. Number 9. Clerks the Animated Series. You don't see that often, so you know this is special. So, this cartoon follows the average lives of Dante and Randall, the 2 clerks from Kevin Smith's hit movie Clerks. Talk about a show that was too good for TV. Only 6 episodes were produced for it, and only 2 of them aired in its original run. Man, people who've never seen this show are really missing out. This show sums up everything that makes Kevin Smith amazing. Down-to-earth characters that are interesting and relatable, hilarious dialogue, and wacky events that come out of normal situations. I discovered this show when Adult Swim aired reruns of it, and it cracked me up. I was so surprised to find out this show never caught on. Plus, as much as I love Kevin Smith's movies, I'm glad this show doesn't go into the raunchy territory that his movies go into. This is an adult show that doesn't abuse its power. It doesn't drop a bad word every sentence, and it contains little to no sexual humor. It does have pop culture references, but they're done in a way where somebody 100 years from now will understand. As long as Star Wars Episode 1 is still in existence, then future generations will understand our frustrations with it. So, Clerks the Animated Series is a show that makes up for Jay and Silent Bob's Strike Back or any other Kevin Smith's movies that he made after that. Seriously, Kevin, how much pot were you smoking when you directed Cop Out? Number 8. Kim Possible. Okay, I'm kind of cheating on this show because it was a big hit when it came out, but since the influx of teen pop stars on Disney Channel, it seems it's faded from almost everybody's memory. It's about a teenage girl named Kim Possible, who is a typical teenage girl, but has a dark secret. She's a pop star in disguise. Nah, that would have been terrible. Instead, Kim Possible is a secret agent that battles villains when she's not too busy being a teenager. This was one of Disney Channel's last good shows before they went downhill. Unlike the teenagers in some of Disney's other programming, Kim is a great character. She's not snobbish, she's not annoying, and she's not somebody you want to throw to a herd of hungry jaguars. She's very lovable, showing that she cares for her friends and family. Plus, she beats the crap out of bad guys. That alone makes me love somebody. Not to mention, she's a character that would have helped me through puberty when I was young. Yeah, I say that because I unfortunately missed out on this show. You see, it had a girl as a main character. That alone was enough for a manly man like me not to watch it. I'm still kicking myself in the butt for that because I missed out on a good show. Seeing whatever episodes I could find on YouTube helped show me that there's more to this show than I thought when I was a preteen. So, Kim Possible. Call her, beep her if you want to reach her. Dang that theme song. Number 7. The Mask the Animated Series. Yet another cartoon that's based off a movie. This is the last one, I promise. So, this cartoon follows Stanley Ipkiss, an average guy who has an ancient mask that belonged to the Norse god of mischief, Loki. Ha! I got that right this time! So, when Ipkiss puts the mask on, he turns into a chaotic character with superpowers that he uses to fight against evil. With The Mask being my favorite Jim Carrey movie, I'm glad to see they made a cartoon of it. The Mask itself is a comic book character that borrows a lot from classic cartoons, so it makes sense it would work as a cartoon. Of course, Jim Carrey couldn't reprise his role as Stanley, but Rob Paulsen does an amazing job portraying Stanley as a calm, average man, and The Mask as a cartoony and hyperactive character that he is. This show contains the kind of gags that made the movie great, but since it's a cartoon, it's able to take them to levels that the movie wouldn't have been able to reach. Plus, the villains are really comedic, but they prove they can be deadly. It's got everything that makes a comedic superheroes great. So, The Mask the Animated Series is one of the few good cartoons to come out of CBS's Saturday morning block. Number 6. KaBlam. One of the few Nicktoons that I actually give a crap about. The format of this show is basically that of a comic book, as two kids showcase a whole bunch of comedic and clever cartoons. This is basically an animated variety show, something that we rarely get, but when we do, I eat it all up. Being a fan of such variety shows as Rocky and Bullwinkle and The Muppet Show, this is one show that I'm a sucker for. This show had several sketches over its run. Of course, they were hit and miss, and a lot of the sketches didn't last long. However, the ones that lasted long were the ones that were the best, and those sketches included Prometheus and Bob, a little sketch show about an alien who's trying to teach a caveman about modern technology. Really hilarious gags came out of this. Then, there was Life with Loopy, a show that follows the surreal adventures of a little girl named Loopy. There was lots of creative stuff in this sketch. And the main reason I watched this show, Action League Now, a stop-motion animated show about a group of toys that have their own superhero team as they try to stop villains. Holy crap, I love this skit. It was full of funny dialogue, hilarious characters, and some of the most brutal violence that you'll ever see happen to toys. This sketch even got its own spin-off show, just showing how great it was. So, KaBlam was a great variety show cartoon that takes me back to when Nickelodeon was miraculous. Number 5. Two Stupid Dogs. Here's another cartoon to add to the battleship loads of cartoons that I watched on Cartoon Network. This show originally aired on TBS as part of a Hanna-Barbera block on the channel, but it didn't get popular until reruns of it aired on Cartoon Network. This show is about a little dog named Little Dog and a big dog named Big Dog as they get into the simplest of bad situations that are hard for them to get out of because, well, they're two stupid dogs. This show had a 3 cartoon per episode format with 2 dog cartoons and a secret squirrel cartoon in between. Let me talk about that, shall we? Super Secret Squirrel was a reboot of the classic Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Hold your fire, men! This was another good reboot. This cartoon contained everything that made the original Secret Squirrel cartoon great, as it parodied spy movies just like the original. Plus, the storylines were really creative and the villains were memorable. So, Super Secret Squirrel was a great segment. Back to the dogs. Their cartoons were hit and miss, but their cartoons that were funny were really funny. My favorite cartoon with the dogs was one where they try to have Girl Scout cookies delivered to them. So they set refuge in a house, but they can't get the door open. I won't give away what happens, but it's a laugh riot. The dog cartoons also gave us some really funny supporting characters, like Hollywood, a big guy who's always yelling, "Wrong!" and Red, a character based off Little Red Riding Hood, except she yells a lot. So, Two Stupid Dogs may not have been the best cartoon when you grow up, but it's the perfect nostalgia trip if you remember watching it as a kid. If you can, check it out. Number 4, Earthworm Jim. Oh, Kids WB, how I missed you. Anyway, this cartoon is based off the video games of the same name, as it's about a worm who has a super-powered suit, and he fights evil with his sidekick, Peter Puppy. Most cartoons based off video games are terrible, let's be honest. But this was one that actually was done right. Well, it helps when the creator of the games actually created the show as well. Anyway, what makes this show great was it captured all the wacky humor that made the game so great, and it's very Warner Brothers-esque. Granted, it was a show that was made by Universal Television, but it's so much like a Warner Brothers cartoon that you keep waiting for Tom Ruger's name to pop up. The best way I could describe this show is, take the humor of Freakazoid, then put it together with the characters from the video games. Yeah, that sums it up. The point I'm trying to make is, this show is hilarious. It has some of the best writing you will ever hear in a Saturday morning cartoon. Another thing that made it great was the voice cast. They got a chunk of all the great voice actors in the business. Jim Cummings as Psychro, Jeff Bennett as Peter Puppy and the narrator, Charlie Adler as Professor Monkey for a head, John Kasser as Snot, and most notably, Dan Castellaneta as Earthworm Jim himself. You know, with these voice actors in these roles, their characters are going to leap off the screen. Anyway, I'm really surprised not many people talk about this show. Like I said, it's really similar to the Steven Spielberg produced shows that everybody loves, so I know that anybody who's a fan of those shows would love this show. Earthworm Jim. If you can get its theme song out of your head, you deserve a medal. Number 3, Bonkers. I miss Toon Disney too. In fact, I miss Saturday morning cartoons period. Anyway, this show is about Bonkers Bobcat, a cartoon character who's fired from his job and becomes a cop, and has to solve crimes with his human partner, Lucky. This was a cartoon that was made with a similar format of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, as it takes place in a world where humans and cartoon characters coexist. Thankfully for us, it's fully animated, rather than a blend of animation and live action. This has got to be Disney's wackiest show. Like Roger Rabbit, it pays a lot of tribute to not just classic Disney cartoons, but classic cartoons period. It's full of wacky gags, violent gags, wacky characters, you name it, this show has it. Another noteworthy aspect that makes this show great is Jim Cummings. Not only does he play Bonkers, but he also plays his partner Lucky, while still coming off making the two of them sound different. That is an unbelievable feat that not many voice actors can pull off, but Jim Cummings is that talented. And, in the tradition of Disney cartoons, this show has a theme song that gets stuck in your head. Well, joke's on you, Disney. I totally forgot the lyrics for this. Let's go Bonkers. Yeah, totally nuts. Bonkers. Bonkers. Someone stealing the show. Dang you, Disney! Bottom line, Bonkers is an R-rated Disney show that I think deserves as much attention as some of Disney's better-known animated series get. Number 2, House of Mouse. Okay, if Bonkers was Disney's wackiest show, then House of Mouse was Disney's funniest show. So, this show is about Mickey Mouse and how he owns a nightclub where several Disney characters come to watch cartoons. Wow, that is such a genius idea for a nightclub. I've got to write that down. Anyway, this cartoon is a great example of how you reboot a classic cartoon series, as it features new shorts starring classic Disney characters. Now, Disney cartoons, as great as they were were known for their beautiful animation and magical storytelling with little focus put on gags. Seeing as how they couldn't match the level of animation quality and storytelling of the classics, the producers of the show focused mostly on the humor, creating hilarious results. I can't spell it out enough. These new cartoons are hysterical. Think of if the characters of Disney met with the humor of Warner Brothers. Oh my god. That amount of epicness just blew my mind. Now I can't... Anyway, what was also great about House of Mouse were that even though its main focus was on the cartoons, it still had storylines going on in the episode that would make any Disney fan fangasm. It's so amazing seeing all your favorite Disney characters interacting with each other. Bottom line, House of Mouse is a great animated series that showed that it's possible to reboot a classic cartoon series while still maintaining the feel of the classics and updating it for a new generation. Number 1. Dan Versus. I've gotten messages. And messages. And even more messages to talk about this show. Well, wish granted, folks. So, this show is about a young man named Dan who lives in downtown Los Angeles and constantly gets angry over the minor annoyances in life. So, Dan seeks the help of his best friend Chris to seek revenge on these annoying things, while Chris tries to spend time with his wife Elise, who, unknown to him, is a secret agent. Well, people told me about this show, so I checked it out thinking that the only good show that the Hub can produce is Ponies. Boy, was I being biased. This cartoon is a great contrast to Ponies. Ponies is lighthearted and optimistic, while Dan Versus is cynical and sadistic. Ponies is full of characters with positive traits, while Dan from Dan Versus is a jerk who only cares for himself and his issues. What I'm trying to say is, this show is great. Never have I seen a cartoon that gets so much out of being so simple. I mean, the plots just deal with Dan trying to get revenge on something, like baseball, Canada, and stupidity, and bam, that's an episode right there. It's a simple formula, but it's able to get so much out of it with each episode. I love it. What's also great about this show is Dan himself. Granted, he's a real jerk that's mean to his friends, but he's a lovable character. You feel for him because the annoyances that bug him also bug you. Come on, don't lie. I know you folks have issues with New Mexico, just like me. Plus, Dan isn't all that bad. He's shown that he can have a heart of gold when he wants to, and he takes good care of his cat, Mr. Mumbles. You see, this is how you do a character with negative traits. You make him have the negative traits while still making him relatable to the audience. Finally, there's the humor. It mostly contains dark comedy, but it's done right in this show. The jokes are sadistic, but not so much that you shake your head and say, okay, that was just messed up. So, bottom line, Dan Versus is yet another cartoon that I approve of. I'm calling it underrated though because I feel it's not as popular as other cartoons these days. I'm telling you folks, watch this show. You know if it's a modern cartoon that I like, then it's got to be worth it. So, there are a look at some underrated cartoons, both from and after my childhood. Anyway, I'm Ben, and I'm signing out. And I'm not going to sleep until I get a nightclub that shows cartoons built.